You didn't just grow up, you grew up being watched. Not later, not when you had something worth sharing, while you were still figuring it out. Every awkward phase, every opinion you weren't sure about yet, every version of yourself that wasn't ready, documented, posted, judged. Before you even knew who you were, the world already had an opinion. Before you had any control over it, you already had an audience. And if you were born between 1997 and 2012, you don't need this explained. You lived it. So here's the real question. What does that actually do to you? Everyone says the same thing about this generation. The most connected, the most informed, the most vocal. And that's true. But here's what they don't say. You're also the most exposed, the most compared, the most observed generation that has ever existed, and the data backs it up. Major health organizations like the American Psychological Association and Cigna have been flagging this for years. The highest levels of loneliness, anxiety, and emotional burnout ever recorded in the most connected generation in history. Connection was real. The cost was just hidden. So what exactly went wrong? From the beginning, your life didn't happen in one place. It happened in two. One real, one digital. And at some point, the line between them stopped making sense. Think about what it actually means to form your identity, to figure out who you are while being simultaneously exposed to thousands of other people's carefully constructed versions of themselves, different bodies, different timelines, different definitions of what success is supposed to look like, all of them visible, all of them curated, none of them complete. So you didn't just grow up discovering who you are, you grew up comparing who you are. And once that starts, it doesn't really turn off. You open Instagram for 2 minutes. Someone your age just got promoted. Someone is traveling. Someone looks like they have everything figured out. You didn't go there to compare yourself, but your brain did it anyway. And here's what makes it brutal. You know it's filtered. Your brain knows, and it still affects you anyway. That's not weakness. That's psychology. It's called upward comparison. And when it becomes constant, it shifts your baseline. What used to feel like enough starts feeling like failure. So even when nothing is actually wrong, it still feels like something is. You're not living your life, you're measuring it. And that's where things get complicated, because you're also one of the most emotionally aware generations in history. You understand mental health. You talk about feelings. You question things your parents never dared to question. But here's the catch. Awareness doesn't reduce the pressure, it amplifies it. You don't just feel bad, you understand exactly why you feel bad. You can name it perfectly, clearly, in detail, and you still can't stop it. Like, ever had that moment where you could explain everything you were feeling and still felt completely alone in it? That tension is constant. There's a pull toward independence, thinking for yourself, breaking patterns, and at the same time, a deep need for connection, for validation, for belonging somewhere that actually feels real. The platforms that were supposed to give you both give you neither, because the same app that gives you a voice makes you question it the second you hit send. You share something, and then you watch. You check the reactions. You read into the silence. You wonder what it means that no one responded yet. Like typing a message, staring at it, deleting it, rewriting it, and then leaving it unsent. Or posting something, checking it 2 minutes later, then 5 minutes later, then deleting it before anyone really saw it. And that becomes a habit, not just online. It follows you. You think twice before speaking. You rehearse things in your head. Sometimes you say nothing at all, not because you have nothing to say, but because being misread feels worse than staying silent. That pressure doesn't announce itself. It just builds, quietly, and it doesn't stay in your phone. On the outside, you look chill, unbothered, detached, and sometimes that's even true. But most of the time, that's not calm, that's controlled chaos. Underneath the humor, the memes, the irony, there's real pressure building. Everything moves fast. Trends appear and disappear in days. Sounds go viral and die before you've heard them twice. Nothing feels stable. Nothing feels long-term. And if you stop for a second, it feels like you're already behind. That's the pace you're living at, and nobody teaches you how to slow it down. And then there's something even harder to name. Call it timeline anxiety. It's that quiet, constant feeling that you should be further ahead than you are. No deadline, no rule, no one handed you a schedule, but somehow you feel late. You wake up and check your phone. Someone your age just launched a company. Someone moved to another country. Someone got engaged, got promoted, bought a house. You didn't go looking for it, but now it's sitting in your chest and it stays there. The worst part isn't the comparison. It's that you can't argue with it. You can't say it's unfair because no one forced you to look. You can't say it's not real because sometimes it is real, so you just carry it quietly into your day, into your week, into every decision you make about your own life. But here's the question nobody actually asks. Who decided that timeline in the first place? No one. There is no timeline. There never was. It's a ghost, built from thousands of curated highlight reels, stacked together until it looks like a standard you're supposed to meet. A standard that was never real. And when you measure your life against something that doesn't exist, you will always feel behind. You're not late. You've been comparing yourself to an illusion. And the scary part? You can spend your whole life chasing a timeline that was never yours to begin with. This generation didn't inherit that pressure from their parents. They built it themselves, accidentally, one scroll at a time. You didn't fall behind. You were never supposed to run that race. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Because this generation also went through things no generation before them had to process at that scale. Studying through a lockdown, entering a job market that kept shifting, watching stability become a privilege, carrying a quiet fear of being replaced by the economy, by automation, before you've even had a real chance to prove yourself. So, when all of that is sitting in your head at 2 a.m., who do you even talk to? Your friends who are carrying the same weight, a therapist if you can afford one, or do you open your phone and start typing to something that won't judge you, won't get tired of you, and is always there? That's not a punchline. A lot of people actually do it, because sometimes it's easier to be honest with something that can't be disappointed in you. And when that becomes the most comfortable space you have, when your most honest conversations happen with an app, something has quietly shifted. The frightening part isn't the loneliness, it's how normal it starts to feel. That's not random, that's what happens when the world moves faster than anyone can process. You cope with whatever's available, and you laugh at it because it's easier than explaining how you actually feel. But here's what gets missed in every article, every think piece, every panel discussion about this generation. They push back, not always loudly, but consistently. They question systems that don't make sense. They challenge expectations that feel outdated. They walk away from paths that feel forced, even when it costs them something. They didn't break the system, they stopped believing in it. And that changes everything, because it's not apathy, it's a decision. It's not confusion, it's seeing too clearly to pretend. And that's where something rare starts to happen. A lot of people in this generation grew up watching emotional patterns go unspoken, pressure go unnamed, trauma get passed down without anyone ever questioning it. Generation after generation, just inherited. No one paused to ask why. And now, they pause, they reflect, they say, not me, that ends here. That's not easy, it's uncomfortable. It takes a kind of self-awareness most generations never developed. But this one is trying, actively, imperfectly, but trying. Living in that middle space, aware but still figuring it out, independent but still craving connection, exhausted but still asking questions. That might actually be the most honest place anyone has ever stood. They didn't create the pressure, but they're the first generation actively trying not to pass it forward. So maybe the question was never whether this generation is lost. Maybe the real question is this: what does it cost to grow up seeing everything clearly? Every comparison, every gap between where you are and where you think you should be, every pressure that has no name and no off switch, and still have to build a life inside all of that. No generation before them had to answer that question this young. What if nothing is actually wrong with you, except the way you were taught to measure your life? Think about that.